What's going on, everyone? This is Indianapolis Living, where if you are looking to have some detailed information about the Indianapolis and surrounding area, you have found the right place. I am a local realtor here. My name is Lindsey with Indianapolis Best Realty. We would be honored and we would love to represent you, whether you are buying or selling a home here in the Indianapolis and surrounding areas. This week's video, we're going to be doing the 5 pros and cons of what it is to be living in Indianapolis. So stay tuned and let's see what those are. Hey, I'm Lindsey with Indianapolis Best Realty. Please give me a call, a text, or even email me. You should see my information here in the corner of your screen. Let's roll on to the 5 pros and cons of living in Indianapolis. So starting off with con number 5, Cinco for those who want to know. We're going to start off with the sales tax here. All right, 7%. For some, that may not sound the world's worst. All right, it wasn't all that long ago that it was actually 5%. So up until about from 1983 to 2002, it used to be about 5%. And between 02 to 08, they decided in the legislation here to make it 6%. And then towards the end of 2008, we've had sales tax for about 14 years plus of 7%. One of the things you're going to learn locally by living in the Indianapolis area, we are located in Marion County, which is central in the state. A lot of the surrounding counties, especially if you're going out to eat, you're going to notice a food and beverage tax in addition to the sales tax on your receipts. And it usually varies from 1 to 2%. And if you're living in Indianapolis specifically, you're going to see a 2% bump. So every time you go out to eat, you're not just paying 7, you're actually paying a total of 9. So something to keep in mind when you're going out to eat. So not only are you going to be paying, as they say, 18 to 20% gratuity, which I generally like to do about 22 because those people work their feet to the bone. So you guys, y'all better do that too. But yeah, 9% just to go out to eat. So something to keep in mind as you're looking around. So forgetting all that negative talk about sales tax, let's get to number 5 on the pros. So one of the fun things about Indianapolis is that it is a big, small town. All right. Pretty sure you're talking about 368 square miles of actual land that we're talking. One of the fun little facts about Indianapolis is the original architect made just a generic 1 square mile that was the original downtown. And so you have a north, south, east, and west street that actually goes around downtown. It's actually really, really neat. It's very simple to understand. And if you understand what your cross sections are, and you can actually understand the addresses too. So if you're thinking Meridian and Washington, which are your central points in downtown Indianapolis, either which way you go, north, south, east, or west, you can actually understand a lot of what your addresses are. It's interesting to learn about Indianapolis. It's actually the 3rd most populated city in the Midwest, behind, you guessed it, Chicago, and surprisingly, I learned Columbus, Ohio. So I was actually pretty thrilled to think that, oh wow, 3rd most populated city in the Midwest. Pretty stellar. I think we've all heard of Chicago, but Indianapolis is better. So no big deal, but I'm not biased. So another thing about Indianapolis is it's in Marion County. Marion County consolidated a lot of just the county. And so when you refer to Indianapolis, it's more or less just saying Marion County all in the same. There are different consolidated towns, non-consolidated areas within Marion County. There are a few specifically come to mind. Speedway and Beach Grove. Those are some of the ones that'll pop up a lot of people. There's so many different wonderful neighborhoods, and that'll be a different video you guys should check out for top 5 best neighborhoods that you're going to want to see in Indianapolis. Just keep an eye out for that here in the coming weeks. One of the things to know as well about Indianapolis when you're looking at the actual population size, so within the circle or within the loop that we like to call it here locally, you have about a population of a little over 800,000. But when you include the surrounding metropolis, so meaning the suburbs around Indianapolis, you're looking around about 2.1 million as a total population, which is just mind blowing to me. I grew up in just a little town south of Indianapolis, and then I moved here about 10 years ago. And it's been pretty fun after living in a small town to go to me, it's a big small town in Indianapolis. So, and one of the things you're probably going to notice me do, what not even thinking about it, is Indianapolis is locally and colloquially known as Indy, I-N-D-Y, yes, I-N-D-Y. It's a tough one. On to number 4, which is cuatro for those who speak the Spanish of cons. Let's actually talk about the landscape. So my wife is actually from New England, like north Vermont, like throw a stone and almost in Canada. So I like to have fun and go, huh? You're from the Canadian, I'm just kidding. I love that maple syrup. All right, so I'm not gonna say too much. My mother-in-law's maple syrup is pretty stellar. So, things that's interesting about Indianapolis, you don't really have a ton of mountains around here. So for those who are not from the Midwest, it actually looks more flat than you would expect. I mean, granted, we do have some hills. All right, to me, hills are great. Mountains, that's just something you see in a storybook. But yeah, lots of corn, lots of soybean, all right? Not just corn, all right? Tired of hearing about cornbread and fed, all right? There's soybean too, all right? I like me some tofu, some miso soup. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with that, all right? There's nothing wrong with that. Jeez. When it comes to different changes in the season, all right, that's when things can get real fun because then you get to find out how things are managed, how people do and do not know how to drive in certain conditions of the year. We'll touch on that one just a little bit. Moving on to number 4, the pros. It's actually the amazing venues and entertainment that we have here around Indianapolis. So we'll talk about some of the most obvious. Yeah, we have this, we have this thing called the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Yeah, I've probably been there a dozen times to watch this fantastic event called the Indianapolis 500. You may have heard of it. All right, it's loud, it's fast, and it's something. It's hopping every year, and it's definitely an experience that you're not going to want to miss. It is something very fun. It's very unique to Indianapolis and draws a crowd every single year. And then you have the Indianapolis Colts. Well, they used to be all right, so we're all hoping that things turn around soon. Here in let's see, November of 2022. Recently, we have apparently fired our head coach, but that was actually after firing our offensive coordinator. I may know way too much about specifically football, just because that is my sport of choice. So I apologize in advance to those who may or may not care about sports. This is going to happen. You have the Indiana Pacers, all right. Got your boys in the gold and blue downtown. They're actually starting off pretty decent right now, so I'm pretty optimistic on their season. So, woo! And then what's really fun is some of the other sports that are popping up. Is you have the Indy Fuel, Indy 11, our soccer club. So those are really starting to build themselves up. And then you have Victory Field for the Indianapolis Indians, which are a AAA club for baseball. So there's all kinds of fun sports entertainment here. There's something always going on. We do have an amazing convention center downtown. We have a couple of really cool comedy clubs my wife and I love to go to when we can. Definitely a few I have not touched on, so forgive me if I have not mentioned it. We will get into a different video where we discuss different places, different venues, events that you need to check out while you're here in Indianapolis. So remember when I was talking about that landscape, how things can get, it's all right. It's not like these wild winters that they have up in Northeast where they don't measure in inches, as my wife says, they measure in feet. She thinks it's silly how people are out here when it comes to how they handle snow, which after being up there, I understand. So that brings us to number 3 of the cons, our weather. So in Indiana, one of the fun things that you learn, especially if you're talking to locals, you'll be like, okay, what season do we get to experience today? Because sometimes you might experience winter today, tomorrow's summer, and the day after is spring. Yeah, I said that right. Winter, summer, then spring. Yep. Yeah, it's just a wild thing that local Hoosiers love to say. It's like, yeah, we'll experience all 4 seasons in probably a day or 2. Yeah. Yeah, don't ask me about the name Hoosier. I haven't dived into that to properly explain to you what a Hoosier is. It is a Hoosier. That is Indiana. If you are here, you are a Hoosier. All right? Don't ask me about it. I'll explain later. What's really sad is I went to Indiana University and I am a Hoosier. So I'll have fun with that, and we'll talk about that more later. Getting into what it is to live in Indianapolis specifically, one of the things you're going to want to know what happens in the winter is sometimes the roads can get very slick and it can get very icy. Even when they try to do their best to maintain the roads, after everything has settled down, you just might as well prepare to pay for a tire or 2 and or have some brakes or suspension worked on. All right, the whole stink. But the snow hasn't been as bad lately. These last few years, I think our snowfall is actually under as an average for the last few years. You'll get stuff in bursts. I think last year, maybe we had like 6 inches in one downfall, which is honestly, it wasn't too bad because as an overall sense, heck, I don't even know if we had 2 feet of snow total. Or my wife was just like, why are they worried about 24 inches? It's like we just had like 8 feet like 2 weeks ago up in Vermont.
And pro number 3, we have restaurants. Restaurants, food. Who doesn't like food? I tell you what, I don't have this wonderful thing they call a punch or a belly, whatever you want to call it out there, all right? Because I hate food. No, I love food. All right, let's just get that straight. So, you have your basics, burgers and pizza. All right, so downtown you got Brew Burger and Shake Shack, depending on what you like, and there's other chains. Trust me, there's other things out there that you'll enjoy. You have good old Baspo and Goodfellas. And I'll let you know in a separate video. I'm going to give you the top 5 that my wife and I just love for each different category. Because trust me, we like trying different things out. We have my wife and I have different palates. My wife's is a lot more refined, as ones might say. So there's definitely different places we would recommend. Let's see, I think, the Garage Food Court over near Massachusetts Avenue, or what we call Mass Ave here locally. That's fantastic. There are so many different types of food, seafood, cocktails, juice bar, burgers, different types of pizza, lobster. My wife particularly loves lobster rolls because she's from New England, and so she has a very specific way she likes them prepared. So it's fantastic. One of the things that's been really fascinating to watch here as well is the breweries popping up. You have some pretty big local ones. Sun King has been really fantastic. Chili Water, St. Joseph, Metazoa, Fountain Square. I know there are many I am not naming. I apologize in advance. I will touch on that in a future video as well. So stay tuned for that. But it's pretty fantastic. A lot of the breweries that have popped up probably these last 5 to 10 years. It's a lot of way to get to know downtown and just checking other different breweries popping up. If you love different diners, trust me, there are fantastic diners around here. My wife used to get on me because all we would do when we first started dating was going out and getting breakfast all the time because I'm a big breakfast fella. All right. Love me an omelet. Really hard one to screw up an omelet unless you don't cook it, because apparently I don't have a refined palate. Um, That's besides the point. All right, I love me some eggs, maybe an additional pancake. I will say this, after being with my wife, I am now spoiled and love real maple syrup. That is a definite for me. So it's after you have corn syrup and maple syrup, you're like, yeah, it's maple syrup. All right. That's some good stuff right there. You don't want to put anything else on your French toast or pancakes but real maple syrup. So just that as a throw in. And gosh, there's so many different plugs I could have right here, but there's different Asian seafood places, steak, pizza, local places that you're just not going to miss. I think there's a particular pizza place on the Circle downtown that my wife just wants the marinara sauce to take home and just drink it every night. So if there's any places you'd love to know, please message me below. I would love to hear what you might be interested in, or maybe even have a recommendation that I didn't point out. Please let me know.
About food. Who wants to worry about food? We just want to hear the good stuff, right? So the good stuff is Indianapolis is con number dos, or two for those who don't know. It's honestly public transportation. So Indianapolis is working on this. It's been pretty interesting to see how they're going about it. They just had a red line put in within the last couple of years, the Indigo Red Line. So it's like a fast track between downtown, south of Garfield Park, all the way up to Broad Ripple. And so they're actually looking to expand on that. What's called the Purple Line. Yeah, they're going real fantastic. It's color coded, which actually I don't hate. It makes it pretty simple. They put in a bus terminal downtown, so that can actually be really busy. But overall, you're not going to see any trolleys. Not going to see any trams. We're not cut out for that. We don't have the population necessarily that would require that, because honestly, everybody's still driving their cars downtown. They're not really deterred to just drive downtown. I mean, it's pretty easy to get in and out of downtown when it comes to just traveling. Moving on, as we are talking about transportation, we got to talk about the obvious. In Indianapolis, they have a fancy dancy name for those in Indiana. We actually adopted the Crossroads of America. Indiana adopted Crossroads of America as its motto in 1937 with the Indiana General Assembly. But what's fun is when you learn about the whole motto, Crossroads of America, it is not located in Indianapolis. It is actually in reference to Terre Haute, which is east. Just kidding. I'm thinking the wrong direction. It is west. All right, close to Illinois. So they had Highway 41, which is north and south, and Highway 40. All right, so that intersection point in Terre Haute, so they started calling that the Crossroads of America, and Southern Indiana adopted that as their motto. So therefore, that is how you get the name Crossroads of America in Indiana. Indianapolis has 4 major interstates in just Indianapolis metro alone. You have I-74, I-70, I-69, and I-65. Okay, they're actually looking to connect I-69 on the southern end of I-465. Now, I-465 is what we locally call the loop or the circle a lot of times. There is 865, which is the connection on the northwest side when you're trying to get on to 65 to go north towards Chicago. But it's definitely something to keep in mind. See, my wife, before I met, was in logistics. And so she used to drive a lot of interstate. I used to drive a lot on the interstate when I would do construction. My father-in-law is a truck driver for a local company here. So it is actually very vital to have those those points that go out to many different areas between Chicago, St. Louis, Louisville, Lexington, Kentucky, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Columbus, Detroit. I mean, they're huge. It's incredible to have them, and it just makes everything flow so much smoother. So Crossroads of America, it may be a motto that started in Terre Haute, but it's actually very fitting just because of so much that goes on around Indianapolis. I mean, when you get here and you're driving, it's wild. Any time of day, you're just going to see semi trailer after semi trailer of just all proportions of different companies across the country that come through here every single day. It's amazing. I'm pretty excited. There's just so much opportunity here. We'll get on that here shortly. Yeah, so Indianapolis, being what it is, I mean, it's an incredible hub for different reasons. I mean, whether it's by air, it's not just air, but on the ground. FedEx, second largest hub, is in Indianapolis. They employ over 7,000 people here locally. And then another one, when you're thinking about transportation, is going to be trains. Believe it or not, there's still a lot of trains that are still being used. So Amtrak or CSX, so you have an Amtrak station in Beech Grove, which is actually southeast portion of Indianapolis. And so one of my little neighbors, he retired there. So I mean, there's still a lot to be said for working for the railroad. And then you have logistics. You have a lot of truck driving companies here. You have a lot of small ones, and then you have some big ones. A couple of them to mention would be Venture Logistics and then Carter Express. I think they employ about 1,500, 1,000 plus respectively. So let's move on to numero uno of the con department of Indianapolis. So for those who may or may not be used to some traffic, I know I've driven through Atlanta and that can really stink. All right, 8 lanes of traffic and you're just deadlocked. All right, my wife has told me LA is pretty wild too, but so it can be annoying here for those who have to deal with the traffic. All right, it can stink. So I'm not Atlanta, so I'm just speaking from Indianapolis experience that we have a lot of road work going on the interstates, especially downtown. So you had the 6570 split downtown that they're doing a lot of restructuring. It's actually really cool. I've driven on one of the new ones they opened up this summer. So they're doing incredible work. It just takes time. And so by doing that, you're having to reroute a lot of traffic on I-465 versus going through downtown. So it's slowing a lot of the fluidity of just moving through Indianapolis like it had before prior. So welcome to construction and trying to maintain a lot of your interstates. So just letting you know that would probably be the worst, I would say, when it comes to living in Indy, is just commute. Your commute can be really extended right now because of the construction and then trying to maintain these interstates and these roads. So just be prepared that, you may look up on your maps, whether it's iMaps, Google Maps, whatnot. Just understand you're probably going to end up having to add 30 minutes plus to your commute just for the mere fact of construction, because a lot of these people can't necessarily go through downtown. So you're having to take the loop. So when you take the loop, and you have to because you can't go through downtown, it makes a world of difference on your commute. So something to keep in mind when you're having to go from place to place, because it's not unusual to work in Indianapolis and then live in the suburbs. So let's move on to our numero uno of the pros of Indianapolis. So as I've mentioned before, I would get to this, is just the incredible growth going on in Indianapolis. All right, the jobs, the opportunities here, it's amazing. I mean, we have an incredible hub here. Like I said, a FedEx, 7,000 jobs provided by FedEx. You have Amazon, you have different warehouses that have popped up all around in Indianapolis and surrounding areas. I mean, it's just booming. You have 9,000 employees in just Amazon alone. I think Chewy's another real big one here too. The logistics companies, you wouldn't believe how many trucking companies there are here locally. I think there's over 500,000 small businesses in the Indianapolis area. And it's just, it helps keep the engine moving here in Indianapolis. So if you're thinking about starting a business or moving a business here, we're moving. And the tech industry here is just continuing to grow. I mean, Salesforce, I believe, like 28,000 employees as a whole. And then they have a really good stranglehold of business here in Indianapolis. I have really good friends in the IT business that are doing very well. And so I'm pumped up. There's an incredible amount of growth there, and we need it. It's fantastic. It's fun to watch things get better, watch things grow, and watch it just get faster and more efficient by the day. So it's not just the fact that there are different companies here. It's the opportunity for growth here. I don't want to deter you by some of the things I told you, but I'm not doing my job if I'm not telling you what's really going on. So guys, my name is Aaron Lindsey with Indianapolis Best Realty. Once again, call or text, even email. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if there's anything else you guys would be intrigued to learn about Indianapolis, please leave a comment below and hit that like button, subscribe, and that notification bell. Put out a new video each week. And let's see what all fun is in Indianapolis, and that I can continue to educate you guys. This is a new experience for me, so it's going to be a lot of growing pains. As you see me stumble, just go with me, all right? I'm going to be the first one to laugh at my own errors, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So guys, keep it easy. I'm here. Let's see what we can do. Go.